Welcome back, everyone, to Web3 Unpacked. I'm Rich Pasqua, and joining us today is Dan Kaizer, CTO of Azuro, a powerful prediction layer, offering tool, Oracle and Liquidity solution for any app and EVM chain. Welcome, Dan.
Hey, Rich. Thanks to have me here. Glad to be on your podcast.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. We're eager to learn more about Azuro and you, and what you're up to, and what what solutions you're solving these days. So, Dan, you've been in and out of blockchain and as a technologist for some time now, having led Solidity engineering for various blockchain projects. You're a frequent speaker at various crypto conferences. You're an advocate for blockchain, which is always good to hear, obviously. And you frequent hackathons, and you're a judge for hackathons. That's really, really cool. And now you're the CTO of Azuro. Pretty cool.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
Yeah. And you and I were speaking a little bit beforehand, and you're calling in from Portugal, correct?
Yes, I'm in Portugal, in Cascais. A year ago, I have moved to Portugal. Very nice place to work in crypto, to be honest. Here, pretty solid Web3 community, a lot of conferences, some hackathons as well. So I'm trying to attend when I have a time.
Yeah, that's great. And it's, the beauty of meeting lots of interesting people like yourselves is you come from lots of different corners of the world, and Portugal happens to be very beautiful. So that's awesome. It's a great place to be stuck working. Now, Dan, one of the things we like to do here on this podcast is understand your journey, your Web3 journey. How'd you get started?
Yeah, it's funny story. It was at 2016. So I was a student, and I was working as a dev at some small firm. Actually, this job was also related to sports betting and probability theory. I was very interested in these areas. And once my manager just asked, "So Dan, do you know something about crypto? Do you want to get payment in crypto this week?" I had heard just a bit about Bitcoin and crypto in general, but didn't know much really. And I decided to go for it, just to try it. So, and that was that's what kicked off my deep dive into the crypto world. I have started to attend in various conferences and hackathons. I won some hackathons, so I left this job. And I met a lot of people at these hackathons and conferences. So actually, some of them still working with me at Azuro. That's really nice because so it make hackathons really helpful. You can meet very helpful people there. Some of them can teach you. Some of them can help you with your further projects, etc. So, and I think the most interesting thing here that Azuro is a project that combines my lifelong interests, because I mentioned that I was deeply interested in betting and in probability theory during my university years. Then, I developed some strategies to make sports betting profitable for me. That was like the first money that I earned by my own. Then I was engaged in crypto world. So, and Azuro combines both of these areas. That's why, that's why when I met,
interesting about the sports betting. I mean, it's obviously a big thing online, and now, it's really emerging quite a bit in the blockchain world, and logic and probability and chance, and now AI, which we're going to get into in a little bit, is a big part of it and a big deal for these kind of gamified solutions. Now, there's tons to unpack with Azuro, but can you give us the high level of what you guys are doing?
Yeah, so initial idea was connected only with betting, with sports betting. It was the first idea. With this idea, my partner Parur, he came up to me and said, like, let's do it. So for me, it was perfect match, as I mentioned. So I decided to start this without any doubts. But then we realized that it can be much bigger. So now we are building infrastructure layer for predictions. So we have created full infrastructure for anyone who want to build a prediction app. So we provide potential builders with liquidity, so as you mentioned at intro. Development tools such as SDK, some tutorials, some examples, etc. Obviously, documentation. I really love our documentation. That's very good structured. game.azuro.org. And now we have around 25 working apps that was built on top of us, on top of our protocol. So I think it's I can say that it's a success because not so many protocols can tell the same. So that really a lot of builders was successful to build something on that. And some of them generate like pretty impressive income month to month.
I bet. And personally, I'm interested in the kind of the blockchain protocols that are creating sets of tools, not just one tool, but modular tools that people can kind of Lego together to create one solution. And that's what I'm hearing from you, Dan. That's really interesting. And we've met with a bunch of protocols that are doing that for creating NFTs for games. And now for predictive modeling with Azuro, which is really cool. Now we're going to get into the brass tacks a little bit more, but a lot of our audience they're doing very similar things to you. They're starting protocols, dApps. They're working on the blockchain, and a big part of this is funding, right?
Yeah.
So how are you guys dealing with it? How are you doing? Do you have? Can you mention any of your VC partners? How's that going?
Yeah, sure. So actually, we have, in my opinion, like very strong bakers, very strong investors. Such names as Gnosis, actually they're based in Portugal as well. Delphi Digital, Arrington, Hypersphere, Polymorphic, and many others. I feel that it's really strong names, and it's very it's really motivate me a lot that such big names believed in us, that they really believe that we are able to do something strong, something new. So about fundraising process. It was very interesting experience for me. It was my first experience in terms of fundraising. Especially, I can say about our seed round that was in 2021. It was like very exciting. Obviously, as a CTO of project, I was involved in that process fully because, especially at the seed round, everyone mostly focused on the team who will deliver the product, and obviously that's a tech team. So because of that, I was involved in that process. It was very interesting to prove for other entities that we are able to do it, and explain how we are planning to do it. So because, for example, especially it was very interesting conversation with Gnosis founder, with Stefan. So because probably you remember that Gnosis was one of the first who decided to make prediction markets at blockchain. So then they decided to pivot for some other stuff such as Safe and Gnosis chain, but initially it was prediction market. So and it was quite challenging to explain them why we will be more successful than them. So and investment from Gnosis was really significant for us because it's a big name in crypto, and everyone knows that they know a lot about prediction markets because they was some kind of pioneers in this area, and it was very valuable that they believe in us.
Mm. Yeah, and it's a tough road. The fundraising is ongoing for startups. It's just, when you think you get your first couple of rounds or your first round or your second round, it's not over. You're pitching every single week, if not every day. So it's challenging. And from your perspective, the CTO sometimes is the person who truly understands every single detail of the product. So, the challenge there is taking it out of geek speak and putting it into plain language, right? Or plain English or whatever language you're speaking in. And that's the challenge. So, all right, great. Wow. So backed by some big guys there. That's fantastic. Now, can you, Dan, tell us a little bit about your core audience? I mean, we kind of can guess, but who you catering to?
Yeah, so actually our audience is quite different. And as I mentioned before, now we have like around 25 apps built on top of our protocol. And especially for me, it's great to see that it's very different solutions, very different applications, very different people built it. For example, some of them it's just developers who are interested in prediction markets and they just want to try something in this area. Some of them guys who does good in user acquisition and they want to. So maybe they already have some audience. Maybe they just know how to have this audience, and they just want to monetize this audience and monetize such skills. They are not like geeks, just to want to monetize the audience. And some of them focus mostly on some true crypto diligent stuff, and they launch their own tokens, for example. Some of our front end, some of our apps already have their own tokens. That's very interesting for me. So some of them create, for example, Telegram bots and Telegram mini apps on top of our protocol. That's very interesting as well.
Oh yeah, because you can bridge, Web3, verification into the platform, which is really, really cool. All right. So that's fantastic. And it's interesting to hear, people who are just fresh out of the gate, starting a new product, a game, a service, they'll be using your service, but there are people who are actually in this space for a very long time. Web 2.0, people or apps that want to kind of enhance their gameplay, their tokenomics, if you will, or economics. So that's really interesting. Now, getting into a little bit of the languages, because we have a lot of developers that join the podcast here, and our audiences are developers. What is the language du jour for you guys? What is your core language?
Yeah, I think we have two core languages. It's Solidity, For smart contracts, obviously, because we are using EVM chains right now. Right now we have only EVM chains, but who knows? Maybe in the future we will go to some other chains. It's Solidity. And JavaScript for some other tools such as SDK. Also, we have the graph for our clients. And we have data provision model that was made with JavaScript as well. So I think this two languages.
Yeah. It's usually, Rust or Solidity, right? Obviously. And those development camps are usually have staunch lines drawn in the sand. And it's interesting. It's just fun to hear different POVs on, why and what you're using. Now when we're talking about technology, obviously for something like this, when you're pulling off offline, or off-chain data onto the blockchain, oracles are important. How is Azuro's oracle different from, or more efficient, if you will, than other oracles?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. Oracle is like a really key part of our protocol, and it's a very complicated part, to be honest. Oracle itself, in blockchain area in general, it's a very complicated stuff. Actually, one of my first projects that I worked. So in 2017, it was about oracles. So, and I really understand it deep how complicated this area. So, I will come back to your question. If you're speaking about Azuro's Oracle, I don't think that Azuro Oracles itself is something unique. So we are using pretty standard model, optimistic approach. It's nothing unique here. But the main thing in our case is data itself, not the way how we provide this data to smart contracts. It's our data provider. Because in our area, high quality data is like the most valuable thing that can be. So because if we want our liquidity pool to be profitable, so we need to have robust odds, first of all, and correct data about every events on that. And then on that events, people can make predictions, can make bets, etc. So, and to be profitable here, you need robust odds. So if you want, I can elaborate more about odds and how it works. But yeah.
Yeah, it's a combination. It's just not one thing. The Oracle is not, the savior of all applications or dApps. And the quality of the information is key. And then all these little components, like you're saying, bots and other treatments that are put in place are hyper important. Now when we're talking about the blockchain, I know you guys are, host, your apps on Polygon, but what other chains are you developing for? Or is it cross-chain? How does it work?
Yeah, right now we are live at Polygon, Gnosis chain. Gnosis chain, actually, it was the first chain that we deployed for, and Chiliz. We have deployed on Chiliz just a few weeks ago. We have some partnership with them.
Yeah, for me, one of the more interesting parts of a product or an application like this is the quote unquote predictive nature of it, right? And the quality of that predictive nature. How does that work? How does the predictive analytics work? How are you using AI? How does the machine learning work? And I mean, I don't have to go into it, but what tools in software are you using to advance this predictive modeling?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So actually, you shouldn't predict the outcome of such of some event. The most important that you need to do, you need to calculate probability of each outcome. So it's not like I am really able to predict how some event will be finished. It's impossible. It's impossible to say for sure because it's just a random sometimes, etc. But I can calculate probability of each outcome. That's the most important stuff. And when you have these probabilities, then you are able to have odds that I mentioned before. So to explain how it works, how this odds works, I can give you the simple example on what this odds means. For example, let's say we are playing Head or Tails, this game. It's very easy to say that each outcome have 50% probability, right? Like 50% that it will be head and 50% that it will be tails. So it's very easy to calculate. In this case, clear odds without margin will be 2.0, 2.0, right? So, for example, if you guess that it will be head, that it's head, you get twice more than you have. Same about tails. So, but if you will add margin, it will be 2.9, 2.9, or 1.9, 1.9, for example. And in this case, it will mean that I will be in profit for sure on a long distance because I have this margin inside the odds. So, and only because of this margin inside the odds, our liquidity pool and prediction markets in general can be profitable. So that's why I mentioned that odds is so important. Because, for example, if I will decide that, for example, probability that it will be head, let's say 60% and 40% for tails, most probably you will just start betting on head every cycle, and you will be profitable for sure. That's because of this mistake from my side. So
yeah, good analogies there. Now, Dan, are you guys implementing? Are you using AI, or is it just pure, machine learning? Or
not right now. So now we are not using it in our risk management model. But yeah, we are planning to do something like this. So we are planning to train AI model. So to make profitable bets. So we will see how it works. But at this moment, no, we don't use it in our risk management model.
Yeah, I mean, I could see how you guys could use it in many ways within the kind of gamification world, if you will. And, since, when we talk about blockchain, for me at least, and 40,000 foot view of blockchain is really about trust and transparency.
Yeah.
How are you guys maintaining that on your platform?
Yeah. So first of all, I think we completely transparent, and our solution is completely trustless. So you don't need to trust us. You need to trust only code. So our code is audited by many entities. So we usually have few audits for each release. that's first of all, yeah, all our logic is on chain right now. Also, you can use some analytics tools, such as Dune, for example, something like this. So, and you can collect all the data directly from blockchain. So it should be completely transparent for everyone. That's like one of our one of our mission to make betting and prediction markets completely transparent.
Yeah, and in the case of Azuro, we're really talking about gamification and gambling situations. But these predictive models and this technology could be really, really effective for supply chains too, right? And that's what part of all of this is about. A lot of it is. How do you see that? Do you see yourselves branching out into that world and helping other industries or sectors?
To be honest, I didn't think about such use case, about supply chains, something like this. But yeah, maybe it can be the case. Why not? So we definitely should think about it. But to be honest, right now, I don't see it as a focus for our team right now. Right now, we are mostly focused on prediction market in more classic meaning. We are trying to provide our users with more markets, with more events, etc. But yeah, it's an interesting direction for sure. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different directions to take these days.
Yeah, sure.
Once you have a grasp of the technology and what it really can do, so part of my background, I worked for Nickelodeon for many years. I designed games, and that included leveling. Now, the gambling type of scenarios are one thing. Do you see Azuro being used for like, first persons or other blockchain games that have different levels, and maybe those levels are dynamic and predicted as you play? Is that something that you guys would do?
Yeah, we are planning. So actually, we already had some integration with some game fee projects previously. To be honest, it was not like very effective and very successful. So, but anyway, we already working in such direction. So, and I think that in Web2 area, predictions and betting is like an engine for sport, for esport, for some games like Counter-Strike, Dota, etc. So I think the same can be suitable for Web3 games as well. So, and I think prediction markets will be like the driver for game development in Web3.
Yeah. Because, I get my gears start going and I'm like, oh, wow, this could be really interesting for creating very unique leveling, game leveling on the fly. That means you could have a game that could be 100% unique, almost 100% of the time, which is really, really cool. So keep your eye on that one, Dan. We'd love to see that. Now let's talk about liquidity solutions, because you hear blockchain, and a lot of the people that come on this podcast, they're in DeFi, right? They're digitizing assets, and it's about asset management. How does, now you have like cross-chain liquidity, vaults, assets in those vaults. Do you enable, users to go beyond the game world, meaning, hey, I won a bunch of tokens, or, I did well on this or bust on that. But when you're pulling your assets on and off the platform, do you offer other liquidity solutions for game players?
Yeah, first of all, we offer to put assets to our liquidity pool. That's the first. That's the first thing that we can offer. So right now, this liquidity pool performing very well, in my opinion. So it's like about 30% APY. I think it's like annual. Wow. Yeah. In stable coins, I think it's like pretty impressive. At Polygon, at Gnosis, it's not so good right now. Maybe because of volumes, because the most volumes that we have comes from Polygon. It's a liquidity pool. First of all, we are planning to. So right now we have a bit more liquidity than we need, to be honest, and now we are thinking how to make usage of this liquidity more efficient and more profitable. Now we are thinking about some kind of leverage and some kind of lending that we can offer to our liquidity providers. At this moment, it's only liquidity pool. I
get it. That's great. And it's really interesting to see, we've had other bona fide, Web3 game platforms on before. And it's really interesting to see the intersection of gaming and DeFi. Right. So you're gaming and you're earning, and the APIs, that's amazing. It really offers, it's like a game on top of another game.
Exactly.
Really, really cool. One of the things that people don't think about too much when they're looking at partners on the blockchain or products to use at first blush is how you manage your own as a user, either a game player or a developer, whoever you may be using the Azuro platform, is the dashboard. Where does all the information come in? And can you give us a sense of what that's like?
Yeah, so obviously we have a Dune dashboard for Azuro. And I think there you can find any information. So there you are able to track how each applications that was built on Azuro performs. You can track volumes. You can see the most popular events. You can see the most popular markets at Azuro, etc. So we are trying to keep our Dune actual and updated, and we are trying to add more and more queries and dashboards for our Dune. So mostly we are using Dune for that. So if you are want to dive really, really deep and Dune is not enough for you, for example, you can use our graph and try to fetch any data that you want. That's possible as well, but it's already for a bit more experienced users, for some devs maybe, something like this. Yeah, for them, it can make sense to just go through our documentation and then go to the graph and try to fetch data that they need. That's also.
I took a look at Dune, and it was pretty robust. I think it's at some point you guys will have so many different data nodes or data feeds into it that people will just have to be able to customize it a little bit to trim it down for their needs. But I really like that you're supplying all the critical data on one dashboard for users. Super important. And I'm sure you have alerts and it's a whole ecosystem that you get involved in as a developer and or a participant. So that's really cool.
Yes.
Now let's talk about getting on and off, the on-roads and the off-ramps to Azuro, which is Azure, which is an ERC20 token. Do I need to buy those before I get into it? Can I on-ramp with, say, Matic or anything else?
Sorry, you mean will be available at Polygon or what?
Yeah, I mean, so will it be available at Polygon or, how does it work? How does I think you haven't launched it yet, but what are the plans for the Azure token?
Yeah, it will be launched very soon. So it will be launched this month in June. And it will be launched on Ethereum mainnet. But yeah, obviously it will be cross-chain token, so we will have it on another chains as well. So we are planning to start with like a fair launch. So first of all, why we need it? Because we need. So it's one of the steps to achieve true level of decentralization. So because we need governance, first of all. Also, we have some. So I mentioned that right now all logic is on chain, but some features that we are planning to have is not possible to do fully on chain, and we need some off chain calculation. That's why we need token as well. So because we'll have staking, and token stakers will be able to validate these calculations that's making off chain. That's why that's so important step for us.
Yeah, and I think people like, do you have to spin up a token? But the idea of staking is really interesting within this environment. Earning as you play, as we talked about before, but also the idea of governance, right? And being a true blockchain application and giving the participants a voice and or key stakeholders a voice in the process, in the product itself, is really, really cool. Now, I've had a sneak peek at some US-based game platforms, both 2.0 and 3.0, and I can tell you, in the United States, it's dicey, and you have a big target on your back, basically, and there's different little sanctions and regulations and everything else like that. How do you? I mean, you guys are truly a global company, or should I say, decentralized, workforce. How do you deal with regulations? It must be challenging.
Yeah, obviously it's challenging, and we very careful with that area. So that's why we took some decisions. For example, that's why we need decentralized governance. That's why we have this model with front ends and apps and independent apps. I think that's very very robust solution in terms of regulations as well, because we provide only the tools, and we are not providing some app or some interface for the end users. So that's very important as well. And yeah.
Well, it seems like you have a good grasp on it, and it's working out pretty well for you. the U.S., obviously, we have our own set of challenges as far as regulations, and it's a constant battle on daily.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of European, countries and products, European-based products have a little bit of an easier time dealing with some of these things because the governments or organizations or governments really have an eye towards this, and they can see it as a true change agent for nations themselves. So that is good, and I always applaud that. So that's awesome. Now, one of the things, always comes up in our podcast, when you're starting something new or existing, is community, right? What does your community look like, from learning, development, support, governance? What does it look like?
So I think right now our community mostly focused in our Discord, and in my opinion, mostly it's about developing and learning right now. Maybe also support. So governance not so much right now. Probably it will be another picture after our token launch, after TGA. But now, I'm thinking that it's mostly about developers. And in our Discord, I think developers' questions and some developers' guides, etc., is like the most demanded topics right now.
Yeah. It usually starts with the developer community. They need proper documentation. That takes a very, very long time to do. And get right. And then it heads into, basic support. And then, the community itself, and then perhaps governance. How does that work? So yeah, that makes perfect sense. And you guys are, you're off and running, but it's not like you've been around for 2 or 3 years. So, those things take time. And, we talked about your team because a lot of people are really interested in how certain companies like yours, Azuro, structures their workforce. How do you guys do it? Where are you guys? How's it work?
Yeah, so we have a global team. It's like quite distributed all over the world, to be honest. Yeah, now we have like a bit more than 30 people, 33. Mostly it's a developers team. Mostly it's a tech team. And as I mentioned, some people live in Portugal, some people live in Europe, in Eastern Europe, in different countries, in Russia, in Turkey, etc. Yeah, we have quite international team to them.
And that's the beauty of the blockchain,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
You get to handpick people from all different corners of the world. And I always love hearing about different teams, especially overseas teams, and how they operate and work. So that's really great. And, besides Azuro, Dan, I know you love your product and you could probably talk for days on it, but what in 2024, what are you excited for in the world of blockchain and crypto?
Good question. So if we are speaking about some narratives in 2024, I was quite excited because of these tap apps such as Notcoin, etc. I'm thinking that it's quite interesting idea, to be honest, how to involve like non-crypto users to our area. Obviously, retention will be not very good, but anyway, for example, Notcoin was pretty successful in this space, and they really involved a lot of completely non-crypto users to our area somehow. At least they came to exchanges, at least to sell these Notcoins. But anyway, they already a little bit interested, and they already in our area. I think that's a very interesting narrative. It's mostly about engagement, about user acquisition and marketing, but it's quite interesting. If we are speaking about some tech topics, about some tech narratives, for me, it's very interesting is FHE blockchains. It's fully homomorphic encryption. And now I see that some projects who build blockchains using FHE. Why it's interesting for me and why I'm thinking that it makes some sense, because in my opinion it can solve problem of solve issue of randomness inside the blockchain. So because now it's quite an annoying issue, especially for me, because in our protocol sometimes you need it. And now there is no fully robust solution for such issue. Yeah, obviously we have VRF, we have some other solutions, but I can't say that I'm really like it. So, and in my opinion, this FHE blockchains can solve it. So that's why I'm trying to watch how is it going, how this project developing, etc.
Yeah. Supporting chains. One other application could really greatly help Azuro down the road, as you were mentioning. It could be baked into your product, perhaps. Who knows? And that's the beautiful part of the greater community, if you will, is that everyone wants everyone to do well because everyone's learning as they're going and building as they're going. And there's always lots of room for collaboration and market share, if you will. And then the application that you were talking about is really, really interesting. And I think super important because, I applaud anyone on the blockchain who makes it very easy for someone a noob, or normie to kind of jump on, get in a virtual world or a game or an exchange, super easy, sign up with a credit card, 2.0 world. And now they're off to the races. And now they get a little bit dripped out to them. And then the excitement just builds. The engagement builds, as you mentioned. So I think that's a fantastic one to be excited for. Anyone who does that, I applaud for sure. Now, as we wrap up a little bit, Dan, do you guys, because, our audience is global, truly global here at Web3 Unpacked. Where are you guys going to be at any conferences soon? Did you go to Consensus?
Mm-hmm.
Where are you going to be? So perhaps people can bump into you.
Yeah, so actually we are trying to attend at some conferences, at some events on a regular basis. For example, in July, I will go to Brussels, to the East City conference. I will be there. So then, now I don't remember, but for sure we have some plan of events, of conferences, etc. But yeah, one of the closest one is in July, Brussels.
Awesome. You leave that up to the marketing team to figure all that stuff out.
Yeah, exactly.
And from what I get, what I know is Singapore is a hotbed for Web3 gaming and conferences. They're really, really taking a big step in that direction. So that's really interesting. Keep your eyes out for that. Keep our audiences aware and myself aware of any kind of X discussions that you do on X or any of your platforms. And where can we find you?
You will find some additional information, etc.
Yeah, your website or...
Yeah, obviously our website, and also I mentioned our documentation that I really love. Game.Azuro. Yeah, I think it's like can answer mostly on all questions. But if not, we have a Discord. We have DevRel here at our Discord who can help with any questions, like with any issues. Also, we have some knowledge base at Discord already because there are a lot of questions that was already raised in our Discord, so you can just go through it and learn really a lot.
Fantastic. Yeah, and for our viewers and listeners, I will put all of Azuro's links and Dan's information below, so you can go. Feel free to visit. And you know, as you mentioned, Discord is it is a phenomenal place to really kind of get educated, especially if you're a developer, get involved in the community, and you know, start building. So we'll have all the information linked below. Dan, you know, I look forward to. It's a really interesting product and project, I should say. And I look forward to kind of tracking it because it's just one of those components that people are going to need, whether it's gaming or something else. They're going to need these kind of plug and play tools, right? And blockchain is definitely headed towards a more codeless environment, a codeless world. So I think it's really interesting. We're going to keep track of you, and we really appreciate you being here with us.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Rich. It was a pleasure to talk to you.